Hello everyone, welcome back to Astral Doorway. Great to see so many new subscribers. We're almost at 1,000 and we've only just begun. Really, there are so many things to cover. So if you enjoy these videos, be sure to subscribe. And if you really enjoy the videos, why not support the channel through Patreon? So in this video, I'm going to explore some of the ways that you can protect yourself from dark or negative experiences, as well as giving some examples of my own. We may get a little more esoteric or occult in some parts, since when it comes to dealing with negative forces, especially when dealing with particularly evil beings, you'll find most of them are very interested in deep occult topics, because these are beings who are not interested in enlightenment, love, or helping our fellow humanity. They're only obsessed with power, usually. So understanding some of the occult side of things can be helpful in understanding them and protecting ourselves. Before I go any further, I want to say that I don't usually talk about or reveal any of my negative experiences, and for good reasons. One of them being that I simply don't have many of them. Out of all of my experiences, negative ones have probably amounted to only around 5%. And through the understanding I have now, even if I meet some form of evil entity, I don't necessarily see the experience as negative anymore because of how I consider them in a different light. That is, to seek understanding rather than succumb to our usual instinct of feeling fear in the face of these negative experiences. But more on that as we continue. I also just think that talking about such things is almost of very little use for others, especially because people easily become scared or interpret it as fear-mongering. But I understand this is a very popular topic and one of the most frequently asked questions, and experiences that are negative or frightening do happen, because our level of consciousness is always diving into deeper and perhaps more scarier territories of consciousness. And, when you compare your positive and transcendental experiences with the negative ones really become of little interest in contrast. If you're one of those people who say, I don't think I should astral project because I might have some very scary experiences, well, don't you think that you can have amazing and life-changing experiences too? Don't you think that most of the things worth pursuing in life don't have some aspect of risk? Don't you think that if you're just going to be scared all the time and focus on possible negative outcomes, that's more likely to happen? The key is in staying focused on your goals that you set out to achieve, not getting caught up in silly ghost stories. But yeah, astral projection is completely worth it, and you'll realize that when you start getting a lot of experience under your belt. And when you do, you won't even care or worry about negative experiences at all. Also, most of my negative ones were more in the first few years of astral projecting. I think there's something natural about gaining experience that makes it become less of an occurrence. I also want to strongly assert that all of the following experiences did not result in much fear, really. They weren't pleasant, but I didn't feel that much fear. Perhaps I had, some fear during the experience, but definitely not afterwards, where I would always come back to my physical bed safely. Maybe that's just me, but it really should be the mindset of every astral projector too. To come back to the physical body and seek understanding, meditation, impartialness, and not become fearful, scared, and write a 1,000-word post on Reddit fear-mongering about how astral projection is dangerous because poor little you saw a scary face. Succumbing to fear is only going to attract more fear. Courage is an essential ingredient to astral projection. So, with all that said, let me give some examples of some of my experiences and how I dealt with them. One experience was where I found myself in a large, empty building, and I was talking to a seemingly normal lady who was talking to me about topics of psychology, and she seemed to want to help me. Anyway, shortly after, she said, "Okay, I have someone who is going to help you." I said, "Okay." I waited around, and after some time, this large ogre type looking man comes in, and with his presence, I immediately feel a strange energy that begins to build up till eventually I fully realize that the woman I was talking to for a good 5 minutes had been manipulating me to converse with them and their lower or perverse energy. And once I realized this, the ogre man runs at me and pushes me to the ground. He holds me down, and before I could think to do anything, he stomps on my head. The first instinct was just to wake up, which I did. And of course, I was fine. But a funny thing about this is when I woke up, I did feel some sort of phantom pain in my head, and I was feeling around my head, and I immediately went to the mirror to check if I was okay. The sensation only lasted for maybe 1 or 2 minutes. He must have done something to me energetically, but it was only a minuscule attack. I wanted to reveal this one because out of my 10 years of hundreds of experiences, this was the one experience I've had where I actually felt some sort of subtle pain, or that I was actually attacked, which in the end really amounted to nothing. Those two beings didn't feel dangerous at all, especially compared to the next two experiences I had, which seemed to involve more sophisticated, evil beings. But as you'll see, I wasn't actually attacked in the end due to how I handled the situation. So in this other experience, I was in a village, and I saw a sort of spiritual trinket shop. So I thought I'd go in, and as I'm looking around, a man, the owner of the shop, talks to me and asks me if I'm into spiritual things. I say yes, and we talk about some occult stuff for a few minutes. Then he eventually asks me with a strange and sinister smile on his face if I'm interested in Ouija boards. And he goes to pick one up and shows me. I say to him quite clearly that I'm not interested in any sort of black magic, but he tries to convince me of its greatness somehow, and he says how amazing it is, but I just ignore him and leave because he's clearly interested in things that I'm not. But as I get near to leaving his shop, things start to become darker, and he blocks my way, and this was strange, but he's now turned into a woman, not a normal looking woman, a clearly male looking transsexual for some reason. And he tries to convince me one more time to come with him. I immediately sense his evil intent and I jump up to fly away. And just as I'm flying in the air, he raises his hands towards me as if to cast a force to stop me midair. And that's what he did. I was trying my best to continue to fly away, but I was truly stuck midair. It was quite an excruciating feeling to be forced into a solitary position in the air, even though I desperately tried to move. At this point, there was a bit of panic in me, so I called upon some help. I said something like, "Masters and angels of light, help me and protect me." I pleaded and begged in my heart, and suddenly, to my surprise, I saw the planet Mars in the most vivid detail I've ever seen it. I was surprised as this was completely spontaneous and unintended. And as I was looking at Mars, I realized I was freed from that experience with that man who was keeping me there. And now I was in a sort of void looking at Mars. And I could feel this low vibration and hum that came from the planet. After this, I had a moment of unconsciousness and then continued on as normal in the astral and eventually woke up. And when I woke up, I realized that Mars is actually supposed to be a planet of force or strength, being related to the zodiac sign Aries. So somehow the energy of Mars helped me to break away from the grip of that man. I'll leave a couple of links below about Mars in this sense. So this is an example of how you can call upon general masters or guides or forces to help you in such moments. You can also call upon their names specifically as well if you have taken a specific liking to a certain master or angel, etc. In my last example, I was walking down a neighborhood road in the astral. It was normal, sunny weather, and I remember just really enjoying the experience of being in the astral. I eventually walked into a cul-de-sac, and there was a tall man in the middle of the road. It's hard to describe him, to give it justice, but he was probably, he is the most powerful negative entity I've ever met. Simply from reading his aura and energy, which emanated a silent and controlled power, which was negatively charged power, of course. He was dressed in a black suit, he was bald, and he had grey skin. As I looked at him, he locked eyes with me and began to walk towards me. There's something about being self-conscious that he picked up on. Maybe he picked up on some fear, but I don't know. As soon as he spotted me, he wanted to attack me, and I knew this instantly. As I looked at him, he locked eyes with me and began to walk towards me. His eyes were instantly hypnotic, and I simply just couldn't get away from him. I actually started walking towards him against my will, as if he was suddenly a center of gravity, like a black hole ready to consume me. As I got closer, the sky above began to turn grey and dark, and I felt the true power of this 7-foot tall, menacing person, and there was a sort of ominous electricity in the air. This wasn't just some ogre like in the first experience I mentioned. This being was intelligent and powerful, a true demon or black magician, most likely. And once he got within inches of me, I immediately did the following mantra of protection that my Gnostic teacher taught me. So this is the second mantra I'm teaching now, and it goes, Helion Melion Tetragrammaton. When this mantra is said in the astral plane, it protects you from negative forces. And as you say it, you mentally trace or visualize a circle of fire around you. And that's what I did. I've used this mantra multiple times with great success. If you're wondering how it's pronounced, it goes Helion Melion Tetragrammaton. You can space each word out with a breath in between, or just say it all in one breath like I just did. There's a lot to this mantra, so I'll leave some links below if you're interested in studying it in depth. But in summary, the word tetragrammaton relates to the upright pentagram. The upright pentagram, the 5-star symbol that you can see on the screen, represents the ascension and divinity of the human being. It's a very positive symbol that negative entities or beings do not like, and which is why they use that symbol in an inverted way. When it's used in that way by black magicians, for example, it represents the devolution of man, with the 5 points of the star being the arms, legs, and head, like how you can see on the screen. So it represents an upside down man. So upright is man ascending to the heavens in his microcosmic inner star towards the light. And the inverted is man upside down, falling in consciousness. Now, our ultimate goal on this path is to go beyond good and evil, right? As discussed in previous videos. For us on this spiritual path, we need to go beyond separation and duality. However, in those moments, if you're being attacked in the astral, then you want to fight using the forces of light, positivity, and love, right? They're using inverted negative forces against you, so you should reprimand with positive ones in order to neutralize those forces. Anyway, and so when I did the mantra while casting a fire of protection around me at the same time, and he was just so very close to me, I began to see the world around me shift and morph, like all the forms around me were becoming a sort of tornado, and I saw a grassy platform float in front of me, which I walked onto, and I escaped into a completely other dimension where that entity didn't exist. And I was back in a sunny environment in the middle of an open grassy field. So yeah, he was powerful, probably more powerful than me, and I'm grateful to have known how to use that mantra. I highly recommend using it in times of being attacked, and you can also use it before going to sleep at night too. I do this mantra every night, and I barely have any negative experiences. As you go to sleep in your bed, simply visualize a circle of fire around you while mentally reciting the mantra. This will protect you during your sleep, whether you're consciously or unconsciously projecting. This can also help with having less nightmares as well. You don't need to do the mantra. You can just visualize a circle of fire or a circle of light. But honestly, the mantra helps. As well as this, you can also keep an altar as a symbol of protection in your home while you astral project. It should be square-shaped with a white cloth on it. I say this because black magicians often use altars that are circle-shaped with black cloths on it. Similarly, you can burn a white candle on it all the time or whenever you're present in the house. You can place deities or symbols you consider holy, sacred, protective or powerful. And you can also burn incense in your house, preferably real frankincense or copal resin or sage. And you can burn these on charcoal discs in a clay pot. I'll leave a video on how to use proper incense as well, as opposed to just incense sticks. There's a lot of impure incense sticks that aren't natural and just full of chemicals, and they don't really have natural metaphysical benefits. So yes, you can visualize a fire of light or protection around your house 3 times before you sleep, and you can combine this with prayer and mantras. You can ask angels, gods, masters, guides, or any other type of positive force to help you with protection and astral projection. Again, this should also help with experiencing fewer nightmares. So, as you cast the circle of protection, or mantralize, or light incense, you can say a prayer which goes something like this. Angels, masters, and guides of the astral plane, protect this house in a spiritual camouflage so that no evil or darkness can penetrate it. Cast away all kinds of negative forces or energies. And you can finish this prayer with the mantra Om or Amen 3 times. Do this all with positive emotions and complete faith. And then you can sleep peacefully and focus on your goals of astral projection. Now, I've heard of random little stories of people having prolonged experiences with negative entities. I don't know how true those are, but luckily I've never had such experiences. Anytime I have, it's only lasted maybe 2 or 3 minutes max, because every time I meet a being who I know is malicious and only has evil intent, I do something in return, right? I don't just do nothing and be passive. No, you have to do something, even if it's just to wake up. Every experienced astral projector knows that you can simply wake up from an experience by willing it. There's not much to it. But if you don't want to wake up and you're feeling more courageous, then I hear a lot of people also say to project the feeling of love onto these beings, which I'm sure could work. But that kind of description is a little vague. This feeling of love should be combined with intention, willpower, and imagination to conjure up some kind of expelling, disarming force, right? Whether it's to conjure up and cast a white light, which sends them away, or perhaps to imagine a shield of force protecting you. Either way, the type of love talked about here should be a divine and transcendental type, right? Not just a human sort of love. It should be a kind of spiritual, divine justice type of love, not the type of love you have for your puppy, right? Because trust me, if you ever meet an evil being, they're nothing like a cute little puppy. Quite the opposite. Alternatively, instead of protecting yourself energetically, you can also choose to simply teleport to another location or dimension. You can do this simply by intending it. If you're struggling, you can repeat to yourself the location you want to go to mentally, like I did with the woman in the video where I tried to wake unconscious people up in the astral. So this video is getting a little long. I can do another video on more of my negative experiences and how you can protect yourself. But I hope this helps. I'm sure there are many other ways you can protect yourself in the astral, but these are generally the things that I do. There are, of course, the obvious little things you can do, such as raising your vibration, being happy, eating and living well, meditating daily, wishing humanity enlightenment and liberation and love, and, just living from a higher place within yourself. If you're a very depressed or violent person, then naturally you're going to be more prone to those kinds of experiences in the astral. So, if you have any things that you do to protect yourself, or maybe you've had some interesting experiences that you've had with negative entities, feel free to share them below. And as always, if you have any questions, please let me know. Happy and safe travels, everyone, and I'll see you on the next episode.